And a very good morning to you. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the first IAB Insights series for 2025. I feel like I should probably say Happy New Year. I know it's a bit late now to welcome you to 2025, but it's the first time that we're getting together here at the IAB Insights series, and I'm super, super excited to be here with you all today. We're starting the year with probably the most controversial topic of our time. Last year, we focused so much on the world of AI, and we hope that you learned so much about our industry and the world around you as marketers, publishers, PR specialists in your industry, and that you're ready to dive into the world of influencer marketing today. My name is Danilo Acquisto, and I'm the CEO of a digital agency called Special Effects Media South Africa, and I'm glad to be your host today. My job is to make sure everything runs smoothly, that you have an hour of jam-packed insights to make sure that you walk away with everything that you need to become the best influencer marketing sort of team that you can be. And I'm very excited today because we've got some incredible agencies and brands in the building today. Just some of the names that I saw in the build-up were people like MediaHeads 360, Hollywood Bets is here, Media24 is here, Dentsu is here, and all of our other agency and brand friends from around South Africa. It's really, really wonderful to have you. And I see quite a large number of people registered to attend this event. So clearly an important topic for us to be having today. And so we're going to be covering the world of influencer marketing, contextualizing South Africa, talking about best practice, and giving you guys an exclusive sneak peek into a research project conducted by the IAB's Influencer Marketing Committee that if you're not a member of the IAB, you wouldn't have known about. It is only and exclusively available to the IAB members. It's a perception report gathered from data from all the big agencies and brands around influencer marketing. And the team today are going to give you a little sneak peek into some of the data that came out of that report. Because as you know, South Africa lacks when it comes to data research in our influencer marketing and digital marketing worlds that we engage in. So lots of insights today. I hope you have a pen and paper ready, a good cup of coffee or tea or whatever your poison of choice is. And don't forget to pop a little message in the chat as well, wherever you find yourself today. Before we get started with the webinar, because this is our first webinar of the year, we're doing something new with the Insight series for 2025. And I thought to contextualize what that newness is going to look like, we'll bring you the lady who is in charge of the Insight series as at the IAB. Her name is Sue Little. Nothing little about her. Her opinions hold a lot of gravitas, and she's got an incredible passion for our industry. Sue Little is currently the chair of the Education Council at the IAB, and the Education Council are responsible for the Insight series. And so, Sue, it would be so wonderful if you could give us a little bit of context as to what we can expect from the Insight series for 2025, and welcome all of our wonderful humans who decided to make the crazy choice to join the marketing industry on what they can expect from the Insights for 2025. Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks, Danilo. So the IAB South Africa is proud to be a member-led organization made up of some of the brightest minds, the biggest corporate brands and digital agency networks in South Africa's media, marketing, and digital ecosystem. Our objective this year is simple, but intentional, to ensure that the expertise within our various councils doesn't sit behind closed doors, but is actively shared with the broader industry, openly, generously, and most importantly, proactively. So our overarching theme this year is trust, transparency, and the next era of digital marketing. Each month this year, one of our IAB councils will be led a focused session on a key area shaping our industry. And we're kicking things off today with our Influencer Marketing Committee, a team that's been really hard at work rethinking the future of this space. At IAB South Africa, we firmly believe that influencer marketing is more than a trend. It's a powerful force in the marketing mix, but we also recognize that South Africa is at risk of falling behind the global curve. But our goal is to tackle this today. Back to you, Danilo.
Thank you, Sue. Yeah, much appreciated. And I absolutely agree with you. I mean, we work in that influencer marketing space, and I can definitely tell you that setting standards, measuring return on investment, integrating creators into full funnel strategies, and all of this has kind of led to quite a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fragmentation, misalignment, and even misinformation about influencer marketing in the local context. And so we really want to clear all of that up today and make sure that our industry can move forward in one solid direction, driving real value for businesses to help us grow businesses through the power of influencer marketing. So that's why today's session is so important. Please do keep your pen and paper ready, and there will be some links shared in the chat, so do stay engaged throughout the session today. It's really about catching up with what is happening in the world around us today, and then from there we want you to set our industry on fire. So let's catch up and then let's catch fire together. All right, today we're going to redefine what exactly is an influencer. Still to this day, brands, marketers are not using the same language when it comes to understanding what is an influencer and what is influencer marketing. Today, we'll clarify all of that with the IAB Influencer Marketing Committee. Secondly, we're going to take a look at a bit of the digital marketing landscape, both globally and locally, to give us a sense of where influencer marketing sits in a South African context. We're going to introduce you to the South African Content Creator Charter, a little commitment made between marketers and creators about what makes good influencer marketing, and setting yourselves a little, challenge to commit yourself to common sets of standards. And then lastly, we're going to talk you through an exclusive here today. You won't find this information available if you are not an IAB member, and it's to launch the Influencer Marketing Perception Report. It's a first of its kind snapshot on how the industry in South Africa views influencer marketing, revealing both the challenges as well as the massive untapped opportunities that exist in our market. And to give you a little sneak peek, I want you to think about the question about how much of the overarching marketing spend is on influencer marketing at the moment in our industry. How much of the marketing spend in percentages is spent on influencer marketing? And if the number you have in your mind is greater than 10, you are wrong. The actual details will be shared by Casey Mantle a little bit later on in this report. So really exciting stuff to come through today. We've got very little time. I talk very fast, but not fast enough. Lots to get through. And whether you're a brand manager, strategist, media buyer, agency partner, or creator, the session hopefully will equip you with everything you need to know to kind of work smarter and faster to make sure that you can drive our industry forward with us today. For those who it matters, please do remind your executives that by attending the IAB Insights webinars, you can gain 5 CPD points with the Marketing Association of South Africa. And as you know, we all love rewards and earning things. So make sure that your sort of directors, bosses, managers all know that you can get access to those points by attending today. Our 3 speakers are as follows. Jolene Rulofse is the founder of Fluence Africa. She's going to explore what it really means to be an influencer today. Dashni Vilagazi, the MD of The Media Shop, will talk us through exactly what the Content Creator Charter that I mentioned is all about and what you can do to pledge. And lastly, Casey Mantle, the head of digital, will be coming on stage. She's the head of digital from Special Effects Media South Africa. She's also the chair of the IAB Influencer Marketing Committee. She's going to unpack some key findings from that perception report. And all of this, like I said, is exclusive to this webinar, and I hope that you guys enjoy all of those findings. And then as a little sneak surprise towards our end in our Q&A, we'll be joined by a voice from Sanesh Maharaj. He's the head of influence at Ogilvy, South Africa, to join the conversation with all of the questions that you will raise today. He's also a member of the IAB Influencer Marketing Committee. Now, at the bottom of your screen, there's some technicalities. You see a chat box and a Q&A box. Let's say it together. The chat is not the Q&A. The chat is not the Q&A. The Q&A box is really for us to exclusively host your questions for our panel speakers towards the end of our session today. We'll try and get a massive chunk of about 15 minutes to engage all of your questions today. And the chat is for chatting. Let's yappa in the chat and enjoy letting each other know where we're from and engaging in the insights today. But please do reserve all your questions for the Q&A box. Don't paste questions for our panelists in the chat. They might be ignored amongst the busyness of the chat itself. But the chat will also contain important links that you might want to copy down to your PC somewhere to use later on. All right. That's it from me. Let's dive in. Firstly, I wanted to welcome our first speaker for the day, Casey Mantle. She is the head of digital at Special Effects Media South Africa and the chair of the IAB Influencer Marketing Committee. She's going to contextualize a bit more on what influencer marketing looks like both locally and internationally to give us all a good framework within which to look. She has over a decade of experience and is a leading voice in the digital strategy and influencer marketing world in South Africa. Currently, as the head of digital at Special Effects Media, she spearheaded award-winning campaigns across content, social media, and creator collaborations. A 2024 finalist for the New Gen Digital Marketer of the Year, she also chairs the IAB Influencer Marketing Committee, driving vital conversations around trust, transparency, and industry standards. Casey, it's nice to see you in a different context today. How are you this morning?
So fabulous. Danilo, please introduce me like that to my family. I think my mom would die to hear that introduction.
I'm going to do that. Absolutely. I will get your family on a WhatsApp group. However, I'm sure they love you. Casey, the stage is yours. Take us through the landscape of influencer marketing, both globally and locally.
Thank you so much, Dan. Quick question. Can you see my screen? Everything loading okay?
Looks fantastic. Thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. And good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. So let's dive into what is really important about the landscape, and truly it's all about money. When we talk about the economy, we know that money makes the world go round, and so it really is important to see influencer marketing through that lens. Dan kind of teased towards the end what ratio of spend. You'd be shocked to know what ratio of spend influencer marketing comes out of the bigger, broader budgets. And so it really is all about value exchange. And so I think we can all agree, influencer marketing, maybe it started and we thought it was going to be a trend, or it might have been a fad. Is this going to take off? I think we're well in its way to accept that, yes, it really is here to stay, and it really is championing how brands connect with their consumers. We know that the industry has exploded. Currently in 2025, it is worth $24 billion in value, and that's a global stat. And the reason, well, what I want to unpack today is really the why. I like to treat myself as a 3-year-old that asks why 500 times before you actually get into the deep insight. And so really, we're in the midst of this foundational shift between how brands can connect with consumers. And there's core factors in this, and I'm going to discuss 4 of them today, but I'm sure there are many, many, many others. The first factor in the driver to influencer marketing is the decline of third-party cookies, as well as data privacy and regulations. I think you guys might have attended one of our webinars last year, and we were talking about papaya and the necessary steps that you need to take to be data protected. And so it really, really is an important thing, but it's making it very difficult for marketers to connect with brands. We're no longer relying on passive tracking. We really have to go and set up like really intelligent, sophisticated tracking systems to be able to do this. And so it's pushed us into a place as marketers where we have to rethink how we connect with people. And it's not just about the connection. It's really that deep entrenched thought, whereas previously we just wanted to reach people. And so looking at influencer marketing, it really fills that gap. The content that influencers post is opt-in. People have chosen to follow that influencer. It's community-led. There is value behind that context and that content, which makes it super rich in its relevance. And people don't just see the influencer content, they really do choose it. It's not by targeting, it's their level of attention that they choose to give to you. And so that's the first key driver. The second one that we're seeing is platform innovation. Now, I always refer to the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of those as our social channels. And really, they are leading the way with a creative-first model. We're seeing a lot of subscription models being placed in. So features like Instagram subscriptions for creators. We're seeing things like YouTube Premium. We're seeing Spotify Premium on the podcast side. We're seeing TikTok series. That is all based on your subscription to that content. And it's really clear what the platforms are trying to do. They're trying to make sure that the content on the platform is great, reduce the ad clutter so that consumers stay on the platform. If a platform like a Meta has consumers, it can always upsell to us like brands. So content on the influencer side is not just preferred, it's actually being prioritized by the social platforms themselves. Then the third one we're looking at is evolving consumer behavior. And this is really the consumer push. And I'm going to challenge all of you marketers today to put on your consumer hat for a minute and ask yourself what kind of content you want to see online. It's not brand content. We're evolving. We can see brand content, but if a brand is telling you it's not going to land too well. And so really we want content that feels reflective of our real lives, our real stories, and they show real emotions. Let us feel things. And so it's pushed us to challenge our normal brand marketing structure. And I think influencers really answer that gap. And then finally, we're seeing the rise of social commerce. So back in the day, social media was really just top of the funnel metrics. We could engage and like and comment and share and post on each other's walls. And if you're old enough, you would even know MySpace. And really, it's evolved so much since. Now, the social commerce does not just look like that anymore. It's actually a really transactional ecosystem. So for example, we've seen things like TikTok Shop, a whole shop that exists within TikTok. There's a whole trend, TikTok made me buy it. So I not only see the product on TikTok, I can also buy it straight through TikTok. I don't have to go to a website anymore, which builds up a lot of prowess for small brands to have that full engagement, the full transaction in something like a TikTok. I mean, the other platforms are doing it too. So Instagram has got Instagram checkout, and YouTube, of course, has YouTube shopping. And so influencers can drive this full functionally thing. They can drive a sale. And from the marketer side, we want to track that ROI. More than ever, our metrics that we're tracking make a lot of sense. More than ever, affiliate marketing in the influencer space is a huge trend that's picked up in the last year. Joe's going to be covering a nice little section about what influence marketing is, and she's going to touch on what the engagement rate is. All right, so that is everything happening in the global space. Locally, we have some barriers. And I will be sharing with you a beautiful study that we did last year, towards the end of last year. But I do just want to emphasize the fact that we really do rely on you, the industry, to give us these insights. So the next time you see a really annoying email, say, hi, we want your feedback, please do take the time to fill it in. It's what empowers sessions like these so that we can give you insight into what we're doing as the industry. There is a contrast. So in South Africa, we're seeing that really, money is tight, consumer spend is really tight, our GDP is not great. I don't want to leverage too many bad things, but that is the bad that we're kind of faced. We're all pushing for a share of wallet in our consumers. But the good thing is that the influencer marketing as a platform in South Africa is actually expected to rise. So the compound annual growth rate is expected to be 12% in the next 6 years. That's incredible if you're comparing it to what the actual economy is doing. And so what are our advantages? The first thing is that we have a high mobile penetration rate. It is 196%. That means that every single consumer in South Africa, or almost every single consumer in South Africa, has 2 mobile devices, which is fantastic. It just opens up more opportunity. The second thing that is very special about South Africa is that we have vibrant storytelling cultures. I think we can really express it through our flag, through our traditions, through our heritage days, and I think it's really beautiful and interesting, which is nicely accepted online. And then finally, we have really entrepreneurial creators. Some of our creators that we manage at SEM actually have their own merchandise, their own brand guides, their own study guides. And so it's not just a transactional between pay me money and let me post something for you on social media. It really becomes so much more than that. The platforms, they're backing it. So they have developed all of those things to make sure the creators are being incentivized on the platform. And these are 3 very broad strokes examples. But TikTok is investing in a creator rewards program as of last year. Meta has committed to over $1 billion paying to creators in the monetization programs. And YouTube has rolled out monetization strategies on additional content pieces, such as shorts, as well as launching those shoppable affiliate links, just taking us back to the ecosystem of how influencers track back to ROI. And so I think we can agree, influencers are not just side hustles anymore, they really are shaping how brands connect with consumers. And so as marketers, we need to evolve with this, and it's very exciting to be able to do that. We don't just want to brief influencers anymore. We want to collaborate. We want to co-create. We're not just tracking reach anymore. We're tracking brand trust, and that's long-term loyalty. And so in a world, and I hope this inspires you, in a world where our audiences are really tired of ads, how can we connect with you a little bit deeper? Thank you so much. I just want to quickly give you a quick rundown. This is our committee. This is all the people that you might reach out. And like Dan said, these are some of the people that will be speaking to you today. There is a website link in the chat if you do want to learn more about our committee. And I think that's it from me. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Casey. Yeah, really cool sort of background and insights. I saw there was a message in the chat related to some of these shoppable links not being available in South Africa. And I think you covered most of that by saying globally, this is where things are moving. Why is South Africa taking so long to sort of, get these infrastructures in place? And I hope, Faisal, that she gave you that insight around some of the barriers we have as marketers and the sort of scale at which we can get platforms themselves to bring these tools to life. It's all about brand spend. And you're going to see later on why platforms haven't optimized for brand spend, when you see how little of our brand marketing goes into influencer marketing. Casey will share those details later on. Just before we move on to our next speaker, I see some other questions in the chat about how to get your CPD points. Just note that we will send the attendee list of this webinar because we can know, Zoom tells us who exactly attended the webinar for how long, etc. We send those off to Masa. They will then keep that on file, and then when it's time to claim your certificates, you're welcome to reach out to them, and they will then cross-check that against the attendee list that we've submitted. And then we got another question in about the recording of this session. We are recording the session. The full recording will be available to members of the IAB only, but some of the key snippets and takeaways from the session will be publicized on the IAB's LinkedIn page, as well as on all of their social media as well. So do keep your eyes glued to that, as well as the newsletters. Sign up and you'll get all of these accesses after the webinar. We're trying to obviously encourage you to become an IAB member as well, to get access to all of this exclusive detail and content. Okay, less from me. Let's move on to our next speaker, Jolene Roelofse. She's the founder of Fluence Africa and is an absolute fire force in our industry. She's going to help us define what exactly is influencer marketing and remind us of the white paper that has been released to the South African market from the IAB Influencer Marketing Committee. She is a marketing strategist and entrepreneur with a passion for building authentic influencer partnerships. After holding senior marketing roles and earning an MBA in digital business, she founded Fluence Africa and launched launched the continent's first ever Influencer Festival. A key contributor to the IAB Influencer Marketing Committee, she's helping shape best practices and elevate the role of influencer marketing across Africa. Jolene, nice to have you with us today. How are you doing?
Great, thanks so much for having me. That's such a great intro. You should do all my intros for me.
I'm telling you, I should be the connection between everybody and their families. I'm happy to be your cheerleader. But Jolene, I want you to just kind of help us understand how to define influencer marketing, because it seems to still be, to this day, a real crisis in brands, marketers, agencies to define what exactly influencer marketing is. So do demystify that for us today.
Well, thanks so much, for having me talk about something that's I'm truly passionate about. Like Casey has said earlier, you know, there's just so much potential when it comes to influencer marketing, and yet still a lot of brands are so hesitant to actually play in this space and really maximize, you know, reaching new audiences. I think just to get sort of like a read of the room, we want to run a little poll to see what everybody on the call understands influencer marketing is. So if we can run that poll. Okay, so 3 questions. Well, what is influencer marketing? You've got 4 options. Is it placing a celebrity who's using your product on a billboard? Or is it using the face of your ambassador in magazines to promote your product? Or is it giving your product script to an influencer to create content with? Or is it all of the above? And go. I feel like we should have elevator music as people are voting. And the results are in. So people are saying it is, most people, 81% says it is all of the above. Well, let me take you through what influencer marketing is. All of the information I'm going to go through is what is in our white paper, so feel free to access it. We're going to share the QR code in the chat. So I'm literally just going to give you 4 highlights. The white paper is free. You don't need to be an IAB member, so please do take the time to read through it. It is a body of love that has been created by us as we aim and work towards formalizing this industry, because like Casey has mentioned earlier, it's not just a fad, it's not just a trend, it is actually here to stay. So what is influencer marketing? I always like to equate influencer marketing to radio channels. You get different radio channels, you get your mainstream channels, you get your community radio channels, and each channel is manned by an opinion leader who has a group of people who follow them. They're either regarded as experts, they're either seen as aspirational, or they're perceived as being trustworthy. You know, another example is also think of influencers as influencer marketing as your age-old by word of mouth marketing. You know, you put more trust in what the neighbor is saying in terms of what they're using to get spots out of their clothing, etc., versus a brand ad that you see. So it's essentially influencers who leverage their experience, they leverage the audience that they have access to, and they have the space and the platform to voice their opinion. And it's a really great way, if they firmly believe in your brand, they then essentially become an ambassador for the brand. So in a nutshell, it's people who have a platform, they have a voice, they have an audience who listen to them. So they have influence within that space. And they're also able to take your brand key message, distill it in a manner that their audience is going to understand. Another example that we use is think of influencers as showing people how your product or your service is solving their problem. So a really great influencer is someone who really knows and understands the pain points of the audiences. They can take your brand, your product, your service, distill that, and then showcase it as a solve to their audiences. Then if we go to the next slide, we're going to do another little poll. Which in your opinion matters more when it comes to crafting and creating an influencer strategy? And if we can go to the questions, is it the number of followers that the influencers has? And this has been a very contentious issue, and we have long discussions with brands in terms of which is more important. Or is it the category of the influencers, whether they're celebrity, social media influence, an expert, or a customer? And please vote now. Drum roll for results. Majority is voted. Category of the influencer. So it's yes and no. Both of them actually have a role to play, and I'm going to explain why. And Cassie has a brilliant example of think of wine, but it's quite early in the morning. It's not 12 o'clock yet, so I'm going to use a coffee analogy. So think of, if you look at a celebrity, you'll make use of them because they've got high reach, they're aspirational, and a celebrity will basically talk about, I have coffee first thing in the morning, and this is the type of coffee I have, you know, and they'll showcase the lifestyle, it's aspirational, etc. When it comes to the category of social media influencers, they're the ones that'll take that coffee and then showcase in terms of how different times you can actually make coffee and different usage of coffee, etc. Then, of course, you've got your experts, your coffee connoisseurs. These are the type of people that are brewing their own coffee first thing in the morning. It's a whole ceremony that they showcase. Their followers should follow them because they too love coffee, and they'll take advice from the expert in terms of the type of coffee beans, where to source the coffee from. Do you buy it off shelf? Is it from bean to cup, etc.? What is the brewing method? And then, of course, you have your customers who create like great UGC content. So they're the ones that actually go in store. They have that moment of truth when they're standing in front of the shelf, and that's when they decide which coffee brand they're going to purchase, which beans they're going to purchase. And then also a new category that's being slowly but surely being unlocked by brands are employees. They also either have a social media following and influence and presence, and they also, as brand custodians of the brands, also become a really great category of influencers. So another thing that's quite important that was part of the toll is, how should we use tiers in conjunction with these categories? So yes, categories we decide on first to shape the strategy based on the business objectives that we want to achieve, but the tiers is going to help shape the results or the KPIs that you're hoping to achieve with your influencer marketing strategy. And those tiers are based on the number of followers that an influencer has, the platform the influencer's on, and of course the engagement rate. Now, whether you decide in terms of which is more important, reach or engagement, is dependent on what you want the outcome to be from a business perspective. And I'm going to start rushing through, Danilo. Thanks for that time check. All of this, guys, as I said, it's just a brief dipstick in terms of what is contained in our white paper. Please do take a picture of the QR code and really read through all of the best practices for influencer marketing that's in our white paper. And thanks so much.
Oh, Jolene, thank you. Shame. My announcement was actually in the chat was for our other two speakers to catch up some time. You did fantastic. Thank you very, very much. And some cool insights there from the white paper. It is a very useful document. If it's not saved to your company's sort of drives and reviewed by any teams who touch influencer marketing, I really suggest you guys go and download it. There is also a link in the chat. That QR code was also available. It is publicly facing and is a best practice guide across everything that you want. And even today in the webinar, I saw in our first poll that we hosted, most people thought an influencer was all of the above, and you are all wrong. So if 90% of our audience today believes that influencer marketing were those things about billboards and magazine articles, etc., then we as an industry do not understand what influencer marketing truly is. And South Africa really needs to catch up with its understanding of what influencer marketing is and is not. And that white paper is really useful to try and unpack those concepts for you. So please do give it a read so that we as an industry can all talk the same language when it comes to motivating for budgets for influencer marketing as well. Thank you very much, Jolene, and I really appreciate your time today and your expertise. We look forward to hearing from you in the Q&A. If anybody has any questions for Jolene or what Casey shared so far, please do share those in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and we'll prioritize your questions towards the end. Hurrying along, Dashni Vilagazi is next. She's going to talk us through the charter and encourage you to commit yourself to a charter for influencer marketing. She's currently the managing director of The Media Shop and is a respected media and advertising executive with a reputation for combining data-driven insights, creativity, and cultural relevance. Currently, as the MD of the Media Shop, one of South Africa's top media agencies, she's led the high-impact strategies for some of the country's biggest brands. A champion for mentorship and inclusion, Dashni brings deep expertise in navigating the modern creator economy. Dashni, do you want me to also introduce you to your family in a WhatsApp group?
No, I just love the energy that you have. I wish I had some of that energy. If I spoke that fast, I'd probably get a speeding fine, but yeah.
Take it. You need to speak that fast. 1.5 WhatsApp speed to make sure we have time for our Q&A later on. But Dashni, the stage is yours.
Thank you. So the South African Creator Charter is like any charter, right? And quite a few of you probably know about the other charters in the industry. The BBB Charter, which is all about promoting economic transformation. Okay, and there's a whole lot of rules and support and guidelines that go into those different charters. And then we have the Financial Sector Charter, which is all about improving access to financial services, banking the unbanked. Now, the Creator Charter is not very different from many of these charters, right? It's hugely about a guiding document that focuses on the ethical standards, responsibilities, and the best practices for influencers and marketers for the audience. So the purpose of the charter, when the committee buttoned down and created, was about creating a goal for this guideline that was a very, very strong, mutually beneficial relationship that could help marketers, creators, and audiences, pretty much the triangular collaboration that could uphold the relationship between the three of them with trust, respect, and a shared value to support the practice. So the purpose of the entire charter, when we sat down and brainstormed and tried to understand what would the purpose of the charter be, and I think the one, or if anything, out of all the information that's on the screen here is, but how can we be more ethical, transparent? Casey and spoke at length about the inclusive and professional manner in which creators and marketers that are ambassadors for their brands that need to manage themselves and represent their different brands. And in the mix of all of this, the ARB is the kind of supportive watchdog, if I can say, to protect the audience and protect the industry. And all of this, at the end of the day, is about creating a community and energizing and inspiring the industry to do better work and be more authentic. But I don't want us to see, the charter as merely a book that has been thrown at you, the rule book about just complying. It's really an intentional piece of evidence and work to create excellence and strive for excellence. But now when I look at the way the chart has been written for the marketers and the creators, it's about the symmetry of rules. And when I go through it now, you'll see the similarities in the symmetry of the rules. Okay. So let's go through the marketers' commitments first. It's about respect, about being transparent, and how can you as a marketer foster to create a vibrant community that leverages of respect, transparency, and inclusiveness. And that is the kind of relationship that the marketers have to have with their creators to lead on to their audience. When I look at it from the South African context, it's about how diverse the creator can be and has to be, and this has to be respecting all people across gender, identity, culture, and background. Maybe it's a speeding fine. I'm trying to impersonate Daniela. The reality of this whole thing is we're going to commit to partner with creators that are authentic in their own efforts for their own talent, right? So how do we encourage these creators to express themselves, to relay their own brand message in their own manner? So the clarity of information or the brief that the marketers give the creators is so key. Okay, the communication has to be so clear, offering the different disclosures, what the regulations are, what they can say and what they can't say about the brand. So let's keep it real, marketers, because when you ask the creators to divulge the information about the brand, you want the creators to use their own authentic voice, and that you don't want them to use your terminology, because that's where the genuine manner in which the creators can tell the story. Now, the simplicity of business is very clear. Okay, it's be simple in your agreements with the creator, pay them on time, be fair, and later on I'm going to talk about the pledge. And this is really about creating a sustainable and fair environment for the creator and the marketers. So let's be quite intentional about how we work with the compliances of the ARB. We've got to comply to the ARB, because the ARB is there to support us and guide us and do the right thing in community. And we've got to adhere to, when a piece of content is not according to the rules and regulations of the country, we either have to remove it, modify it, and comply with the different standards from the ARB. Now let's look at the creators' commitments. You'll see the synergy in the symmetry and the synergy in the rules. So the creators, they are allowed to have a diversity of opinions, because they need to create this vibrant community that value and respect their opinions. They're going to build their own voice. They cannot and should not ever by their followers and artificially create an audience. They've got to build their profile and their reputation through their content and their honesty and truthfulness and their vibrancy in creating this community. There are values and brand alignment that they've got to work with. And it's about collaborating with the different brands, understanding the values so that the honest opinions are shared with the personal experiences. Be transparent, okay, about whatever gifts and paid partnership, and disclose them all to your community. The products that you get, the free products, the benefits, you'll just be so, I think, acknowledged, and you'll have such a credible voice when you do that. Avoid false and misleading claims. We had a scenario with a medical practitioner in the past year that was masquerading as a doctor, giving advice, and that really didn't go down well at all. And that also then displaces the industry, the medical advice that real doctors and qualified doctors are giving. And what we are finding out there is they are also financial influencers that are giving advice that is misleading many people to invest in so many different unit trusts and the like. So that's, you've got to just look out for that. So professionalism and data privacy is so key, okay? The creators have to act professionally. They've been given data, and they've got to get permission on how they use this, and they just got to be credible in the manner in which they conduct themselves. And the same rules apply like to marketers. They've got to be aware of the content that they post and remove and modify that content when the IRB calls for that. So what I want to close off with, and very importantly, right, as I present the charter to you, on the IAB website, so if you can scan the QR code, you can download the actual charter. And in the charter, if you scroll right down, there are quite a few media agencies and just companies and agencies that have pledged for the authentic nature and the fairness of the charter. So it would be so great for you to go in and pledge and fill in all your details so we can increase the power and the currency of the charter.
Love it, Dashi. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's really, really insightful. And it's interesting to see how few but big named sort of agencies and brands are really keen to do this. It seems like trust in the influencer marketing space, transparency in the influencer marketing space, and knowledge sharing in the influencer marketing space seems to lack. And this kind of charter allows everybody to commit to the same rules and guidelines to keep the space sort of moving. Casey, speaking of moving, I'm going to call you back up on the screen, please, to come and talk us through that very exclusive, very interesting perception report that you guys put together as the Influencer Marketing Committee. It's the first time that our industry has ever called for local South African brands, agencies to give us their data about how much they spend on influencer marketing, what their view is of influencer marketing. You guys gathered all that insight for some of the biggest brands and agencies and have compiled together a report that is available to members of the IAB. But today, you're going to give us some insights as to what came out of that report that was most interesting to the members today. So everybody get a pen and paper ready and get your questions in the Q&A ready, because here are some of the biggest insights from the brands and agencies from South Africa as it regards influencer marketing as well. So Casey, yeah, give us those insights.
Thank you so much, Dan. Yeah, so to recap Danilo's first question, how much money do you think we're spending on influence marketing as an agency as a proportion to your total marketing spend in digital? And the answer is less than 1%. And so we did a survey to measure like, okay, if we agree that it is effective, why are we not matching that with our monies? And there is a huge contrast between those two things. Why? And the truth is that 98% of marketers said it was very effective. And so why aren't we matching that budget? And that's what bred this report really is. We wanted to see what that perception was. Now, IAB members, you can scan the QR code and you will have access to the reports. Unfortunately, it is exclusive. So to the rest of the reports and to the rest of the attendees, take screenshots, take photos, take what you need to. You have access to this information via the webinar. But if you want the meaty insights, please do become a member. All right, so the first big trend is that thing that 98% of marketers believe it's effective, but their budgets just don't match it. And we really have to understand why. Why as marketers? It's that 3-year-old inner child of yours that is saying, why? And the truth is there's probably many factors. The first one is probably capacity. Managing influencers at scale is really, really tough. If you're spending 50% of your marketing budget on TV ads, on CVCs, yeah, 50% of that budget, if it went to influencers, it would be tough to manage at scale. The next thing is skill set. Not everybody is a lawyer, not everybody is a financial person, not everybody is all the things that take up what it takes to do an influencer campaign strategy. And so we do understand that, and I think it's why the agency model exists. The biggest thing, I think, is risk appetite. We're going to get to it in a minute, but there is a lack of trust. Danilo mentioned it. I think I spoke about it in the kind of landscape, but brands are scared. And so we're going to touch on that in the next trend. And the final reason that we're just not matching our money when it comes to what we're saying is that there is a lack of reporting prowess. There's a gap in our market specifically. And while we really are getting there, we really are pushing, we're really doing everything we can, there is a gap here. And so there's very little consumer-friendly platforms that actually do offer these kinds of things. But yes, reporting does exist. So the second key trend is that between brands and agencies, our challenges are different. Brands say that their biggest challenges and concerns are brand safety and the vetting of influencers. That gives us a lot of background into what Dash was saying about that misleading. Consumers are woke. They know what they are looking at online. And it's very, very difficult for a brand to trust a creator who maybe hasn't been onboarded or hasn't been immersed into your brand. And so from a brand perspective, that is what they're struggling with. Versus on the agency side, typical agency model, all we care about is professionalism. So managing relationships is ineffective, which is the second challenge. Relationship management takes time and it takes investment, and that's often very difficult. In an agency model where we're billing you per hour, it really is tough and resource intensive. And so really, what do? It's a big conversation, it's a big point, but and then what, Casey? What? So really the solution is to co-create with your influencers. Do it as however you can, use AI, use workplace features, but co-create with your influencers. So it's not, here's one brief, get the piece of content, approve, cool, go live, here's the date, here's where we posted with paid media, etc. The third trend is that only 52% of brands have a dedicated influencer marketing budget. Dedicated. And so the why is that we're seeing that influencers it's often treated as a byproduct to your campaign. And we're saying that actually can't happen anymore. Influencers as their own unique channel need to be their own unique strategy. And so you can't launch a beautiful big campaign idea anymore and just say, please go ahead, influencers, and post your content. No, they actually need to mirror each other. And so there is a big drive to take influence marketing as an amplification strategy instead of just, creating content. The fourth key trend is that 61% of marketers aim to increase their marketing efforts in the influencer world specifically. Now, it's very interesting because the mindset has to shift with it. We have to decide that we're going to take today's messaging to provide value first and sell second. We've spoken a lot about the lack of trust, the need to build authentic content, and so that takes time. And so yes, those challenges are true and relevant, but we need to overcome those. And that's a very large thing. Let's focus on the value right now. The fifth trend, Joe kind of alluded to it, is that engagement rates are the key KPI in influence marketing in South Africa. When you look at it globally, ROI is what actually takes the center stage. And so there is a large number of things that are keeping us in this space, but really it comes down to two key factors. One, we don't have a lot of platform technology in South Africa, and so it can be very difficult to track. I mentioned the privacy laws and regulations that we need to play with, and so it really, really is tough. What do I suggest you do? Yes, an engagement rate can be a good indicator of how the content is being perceived, but measure it against something. Engagement rate versus other engagement rates on other posts, versus other brand collaborations, versus other content streams. Always remember to comparatively interpret your data. And finally, the last one, TikTok and YouTube are the biggest growth areas. So I call Meta the OG. We all know it, we all love it. It's been around for a very, 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 very long time. But we're seeing that the platforms that prioritize video content are the platforms that are thriving in the space. As consumers, we love short, wonderful, sexy content, and sometimes we just want to passively engage. And so that's why these platforms are really taking a large dump into what is happening in the consumer world and what is happening specifically with their consumption. Lots of very big, quick, key trends. And Dan, I hope I brought us back to time. Don't forget, you do need to be a member of the IAB to access that report. And so please do become a member. There will be a link in the chat if you do wish to become a member today. Thank you.
So I now need to introduce you to your family, but you need to basically, you've taken half of my job, telling everyone to become IAB members. I love it. Fantastic. Thank you, Casey. I appreciate our little shared value there. I'm going to call all of our speakers back up onto stage. It's time to answer all the questions that we have in the Q&A, and they are meaty. I'm excited to get some of these answered. So I'm also going to welcome another guest to our Insight Series webinar for today. And as I mentioned, I'm very excited to have him here. It's Sanesh Maharaj. He's the head of influence at Ogilvy, South Africa. He obviously brings a wealth of experience in creative, data-led creator campaigns, and he's going to be our guest panelist today to help unpack the real-world challenges and opportunities facing brands and creators in today's influencer marketing sort of landscape. Sanesh, welcome. Nice to have you today. How are you?
Thank you. Really excited to be here and interesting insights from the team. I know lots of work has gone into pulling all of that data. Great. So yeah, fire away.
Ogilvy's brands spending more than 1% of their marketing budgets on influencer marketing. They're clearly hiring a head of influence. They must. Awesome. Team, let's get into the questions from our audience today. There's some really meaty ones that I wanted to start with. The first I'm going to answer is from Puleng Molloy. Casey, I'll start this one with you, and then if anybody else would like to contribute, you're welcome to. Puleng is asking, what tools or platforms do you recommend for tracking influencer performance? And Puleng, I suppose the question should be answered exactly like, how do we track performance in general, not on tools? The tool is a means to an end, but Casey, do you maybe want to take a stab at that? How do we measure performance? And are there any tools that you can recommend to do so?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first part of that is, how do you measure performance? And the truth is, you need to measure performance against your KPIs. I very, very, very often chat to clients, and the KPI is to create content. But then you come down to the end of the reports and they're like, oh, actually, we wanted sales. And so you do need to be quite clear about what that KPI is. And that's how you will define your reporting prowess. And so if it is sales, if it is bottom of the funnel kind of things, you want to look at a tool that taps into those things. So Humans has a great commerce platform. They also plug into a lot of the big tech gods. Other platforms that I can also suggest from a tools perspective is Meltwater. They have a great module called Clear. It's quite expensive, but if your agency can afford it, absolutely. The third way is to manually report. I know it's a bit of a bug. I often don't think it's any worth our while, but if you can get a quick little AI plugin to look at that Google Sheets and transform it into something you can interpret, that would be my suggestion.
Thank you, Casey. Yeah, really good insights there. We're going to move on to a question in from Pulane, who's actually asked 3 questions in one. I'm going to tackle question number 3 first because it's the easiest to answer. We'll get to questions number 2 and 1 after that. But I'm going to start with this idea of transparency, a really important one to cover. And Dashni, perhaps you want to take this on as part of the charter. But the question is, transparency about paid partnerships. A lot of brands run teaser campaigns with nano influencers. Would they also need to be transparent and add the hashtag sponsored hashtag on their posts? Looking at the, and I won't say the brand's name, there was a Valentine's Day campaign that went live that did not include the paid partnership label. Would that be considered something that, you know, even if it's nano influencers, even if it is a teaser campaign, should you still use the hashtag ad?
Absolutely. So it's every touch point where you've been incentivized or influenced to deliver a piece of content, you have to and you should. And like I mentioned, in my presentation, the more that you do that, there's so much more validity and credibility that you've done that you would be respected and appreciated as a content creator.
Regardless, though, there are regulations and you are breaking the law. So you do need to comply, no matter how you've trade exchanged,
Disclosure.
paid, minor, small, you have to disclose. And so I know you've mentioned a specific case study. You're welcome to report cases like that to the ARB, and they will take those cases up. And brands have indeed been fined and taken up with cases like this. The more that you report the cases, the more likely that this will be respected. But yes, you are required to disclose, regardless of how small the influencer is or how small the campaign is. Right, let's talk about that interesting nature for you, Jolene, a question about classifying influencers. The second question was, would the customer only be classified as an influencer if they are officially contracted to the brand and not when they receive UGC, i.e. talking about the brand without the brand knowing? Are they only an influencer when the customer is physically being paid to create content on behalf of the brand?
Find that unmute button. No, so they are an influencer is anybody with influence, anybody that can get someone to consider, purchase, etc., a product or a service. So it's not just when you are contracted to talk about the brand, it's when you already have that brand love, when you're already invested in that brand and you have people, think about it as by word of mouth marketing, when you already have people who listen to your opinion and value your input, etc. So no, influencer is anybody with influence and have an audience that follow them because of what they talk about and speak about.
So if I understand you correctly, even if I am a consumer and I am talking to my mother and my father and probably my cousin who follow me, and that's it, I am still considered an influencer in my own right because I influence the people that I talk to. You don't become an influencer by being paid. You become an influencer by having influence, and not the size of the audience.
Absolutely is. And I think it also,
Right.
if we look at it from that perspective, it also makes the word influencer or influencer marketing less of a swear word, which it's almost
Correct.
like a little bit kind of become tainted over the
You
past
can't
couple of years.
graduate to become an influencer. You just
Exactly.
are by having influence. Yeah. Love it.
Exactly.
Jolene, thank you. The first question that came through that was on this, I think I'm going to ask to you, Sinesh, because you must deal with this across verticals and industries. And it's one that I'm sure the answer is going to be no, we just don't have this insight. But the question is, do we have any official benchmarks across the different industries for engagement rates we should be receiving from influencers that we partner with? Basically, the question is, how do we know that the creator is good or not good based on their engagement rates? And are there benchmarks that we can refer to understand how to measure our success? Or then, if not, how do we measure success of influencers?
Yeah, good question. So I'll try and tackle that in two parts very quickly. So one, when it comes to the actual creator themselves, based on different tiers, there are certain industry benchmarks that you can lean into. So Humans have done a really great benchmark report lately, and you can get some of those benchmarks there. In terms of industry standard benchmarks, so beauty versus tech, there are some good benchmarks out there, but I think it was Humans who also did another report recently who reached some industry benchmarks, which are super helpful. And I think benchmarks are constantly changing, so it's important to always stay abreast. But I think we'll always have to keep ourselves updated by looking at what those benchmarks are. But I would definitely reference some of the Humans reports that's come out for both influence benchmarks as well as industry category benchmarks.
That's really wonderful, Sinesh. Thank you. And thanks for putting us in that direction. They do release those publicly as well, if I recall. So you can go check those out. Basically, Humans has a number of influencers or creators on their platform. And through the API tools, they're able to kind of track all that data and give you some kind of benchmarks. It's a dipstick into the global market, the local market. It doesn't give you access to every influencer on the planet, but those who have chosen to give over their data, this is a really good benchmark to start with, Sinesh. Thank you. Oh, this next one is juicy. Let's go through some of the hard stuff that I like to answer. And it's an anonymous person. They don't necessarily want to be known. But how do we evolve the definition of influencer marketing to include emerging formats like UGC creators and AI-generated influencers? Casey, Shane, as chair, you're going to have to take the hard route on this. And if anyone else would like to comment, you're welcome to.
Yeah, absolutely. And the truth is that is the point. We do need to evolve. So these are two very interesting upcoming trends that we are seeing in the industry. And honestly, stay tuned to the IAB. Like this is the kind of things that we chat about in our councils. And to be honest, some of the stuff actually takes long for us to work through because we have loads of back and forths and are we thinking about this thing? And so yeah, stay tuned to the IAB. You can expect us to publish something similar to this. The definition stock in the white paper from 2023 does need space for optimizations and for updates. So Joe mentioned now employees. Yes, 1 in every 4 of your employees are an influencer or have some kind of influence online. And so there's a lot of things that we have to consider. And yes, evolve with us. We will kind of champion that, but also do go do your research.
Yeah, we are tight on time, but there was a question in the chat, and Malebo, I'm going to come for you because I did tell you guys to use the Q&A for the questions, not the chat, but it was such a juicy one, I had to get to it anyway. But Sanesh, I'm going to ask you to comment on this, please. It's can you comment on the employer-generated content, which has more authenticity, value, and trust from a consumer perspective? Is there anything that you guys are seeing at a scale with related to, employee-generated content in the brand space?
Yeah, love it. Great question. And we're seeing a huge rise in this. A lot of brands have developed their own internal influence programs, so more employee-focused programs. Who better to understand the brand or the product to be able to communicate it from a place of, I work there, I know what it's like, to give you an inside story of what it is like to develop the product or its benefits or product that they're selling. So I think it's huge, it's growing, it's something we need to pay attention, and people love their brands. If you work for a company, you've been there for a while, we're seeing a lot of employees put their hand up in their companies going, I want to talk about my company or my product. I'm excited about it. So definitely big growth.
But Jolene, you want to contribute?
Yes, I just want to add to that. I think the only thing that brands need to be cognizant of is that they need to actually put a proper program in place, like Sanesh has mentioned, because now we're venturing into PR and reputation risk as well. So you need a program, and it needs to be, people almost need to be applied to be part of that program, because heaven forbid you have a disgruntled employee that's now part of your influencer squad, talking on behalf of the brand, etc., talking about the products, but it has a negative connotation. So there's two ways to look at it. It really is great. Exactly what Sanesh is saying. They are already your brand advocates, but it's because we're now moving into the media public space, it now also becomes a PR role and risk that brands also just need to be cognizant of.
I love that. Dashni, I see your hand. I will get to your thought in a bit. I just want to acknowledge that it has gone 12 o'clock. So some of our attendees may need to disappear. I just want to say thank you to you if you did attend today. And obviously, we look forward to seeing you again in April for our next Insight series. And I must say a big thank you, obviously, to all of the people who brought this webinar to life. It really has been insightful. I know that there were some sort of special partners who came to bring this webinar to life as well. I just want to thank them too. I really appreciate them making some time and putting off their money and energy into bringing these insights to life as part of the IAB. So a big thank you to all of our sponsors who brought this to life. You guys are absolute champions, and we look forward to bringing more of these to life in the future. So Ornico and Special Effects Media, thank you very, very much. Dashni, your final thought, and then we'll wrap things up from there.
Yeah, so pulling on to what Jolene said, especially regarding the corporate communications policy or the internal communications policy, I think that needs to be something that supports employees to have a voice. And at the same time, another factor that's connected to it is, would this work from home and people coming to the office on specific days only? You want engagement. So you want to encourage that, and you want them connected to the mother brand and to the mothership at all times. So more and more, what Sanesh said is it's just such a vital corporate communications advantage for companies to have.
Wonderful. Thank you. And then Casey, as the chair, any final thoughts to the industry that you would like to get across as your nugget of actionable insights for influencer marketing moving forward, based on what you guys have seen is the state of influencer marketing in the country?
Yeah, absolutely. If I can wrap it maybe in one sentence, be brave, be bold, trust an influencer, but co-create with them so that they can create beautifully.
Beautiful, poetic, love it. Casey, Dashni, Jolene, Sinesh, thank you very much for your time today, everybody, and for joining us as part of this Insight series for 2025, the first of our Insight series that will be continuing out until the rest of the year. We'll have one per month, and all of the details to access these will be sent to you by email. Please do register on a monthly basis and invite your teams and colleagues to attend as well as we continue to move the industry forward together. A big thank you as well to Sue and her team from the Education Council for bringing this to life. We really appreciate all of them, including Ornico and SEM, for assisting us in bringing these together. If you want to get your hands on the recording, non-IAB members, you can keep an eye out on our social media for highlights of today's session. IAB members will have access to a full source. The full recording and all the other details related to this webinar will be there. And you can also reach out to Chris at iabsa.net if you'd like to become an IAB member and gain access to the wealth of South African industry and international insights that come around the digital marketing and content space we've been talking about today. Let's continue to tackle trust, transparency in the next era of digital marketing. If you also would like to sign up for our upcoming episodes, please register and we'll contact you guys directly. A gentle reminder for the deadline for entering the Bookmark Awards is the next couple of weeks. So please don't forget to get your entries in. You can go to thebookmarks.iab.net, thebookmarks.iab.net, and connect with our speakers and partners on their various LinkedIn pages, as well as Sue, the lead chair of the Education Council, Casey Mantle, as well to the Influencer Marketing Committee chair for the IAB. Thanks everybody. From me, Danilo Acquisto, and the rest of the IAB Insights team. We'll catch you next month. Have a good Thursday and a good weekend ahead. Ciao.